Hi, this is CK at CK Education, and today I want to talk about the second attribute of becoming a perfect candidate. Now, 2 videos ago, I talked about um, a little bit about how how I've had 12 interviews in my career since I graduated from college, and I gotten job offers for every single one of them. So I had a 100% success rate in my career interviews. And I was talking about in the last video, I want to share with you the number one characteristic or attribute of what I call the perfect candidate. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back 2 videos ago, and I think the title was How I Did It, 12 interviews, 12 offers. So watch that one, and then you can come back. And then last time I talked about positive mental attitude, how that is the most important attribute of any candidate. When I was recruiter for 10 months early in my career, that was the number one attribute that I look for, that we look for as a company, and many companies and many recruiters look for. And I still think that that is true. Today, I want to talk about the number two attribute, which is, again, very, very important. Now, this one I think is more difficult for people because it's hard to, I don't want to say practice, but because none of these things are really a matter of just practicing. Okay. And I said in my last 2 videos, if you remember, that this is more of the kind of person that you are and the kind of person that you have to want to become, and last time I said, it's not just about trying to act positive or saying positive things. It is actually becoming a positive person with a positive mental attitude. It's a shift in your thinking. It's a shift in really how you think and how you live. And so this is sort of the same thing. This one, the number two attribute is likability. Are you likable? This is so important because when you go in for an interview, everybody has a bias. Everybody has stereotypes. Everybody has, no matter how much they say that, they try to pick candidates objectively. Nobody is truly objective. When someone sees you for the first time, they're going to make certain judgments about you. When someone starts interviewing you and you're across the table or across the computer screen from that person, they're going to make certain judgment calls right off the bat. That's just human nature. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But it's just that when people start making unfair judgments, then that's not good. But you don't know that someone is making an unfair judgment. You don't know what they're thinking inside. But the best that you can do, I think, is to try to be a likable person. And there's a lot of things I guess I could say about this, but I think that in the context of an interview, you can increase your chances of becoming likable by finding common ground, by being able to talk to this person as just another person and have something in common. I think that is so important. So again, that's why this one's hard, because if the other person is interested in sports, and they follow the local football team, and you have absolutely no interest in sports, then it's gonna be difficult to have a conversation about that. And so that might not be the thing, but you can always find something. And if it's not something that you can find common ground on necessarily, it always helps that if you're positive, right? So that's why PMA, positive mental attitude, is by far the most important thing. But most of the time, you should be able to find something something in common, okay? Even if it's agreeing about the weather, okay, or even if it's it could be absolutely anything, okay? But I wouldn't try to take this too far. You don't want to, if they're drinking a Starbucks coffee, oh, you like Starbucks? Well, obviously they like Starbucks, but it does, you don't want it to be really superficial like that. I would wait until that person, the interviewer, starts talking, and you sort of get into a groove and you start talking, and then you just in the middle of the conversation and in listening to that person, there may be things that you can sort of see, and you can sometimes go off a little bit of a tangent on and talk about that for a little bit and come back. But the more personable you are, the better conversation you can have. And as you're having these conversations, you're looking at the person in the eye, you're nodding, you're affirming that you're listening to them, and you have a friendly demeanor. Like I've seen people who interview, like they're so serious, or like they're always worried or something. Like they got the pencil or something. They're like investigative journalists or something. And as an interview, they're busy writing something down. I'm always thinking, like, what are you writing down? And they're always have their face sort of scrunched, and they're very serious. And I mean, you don't want to do that. You got to just be comfortable. You have to. You got to go in very comfortable, and you have to just sort of go with the flow. And but let me tell you a story of one of my professors in grad school. He told a good story of um, this likability thing. And he before he was a professor, I think he was an accountant or something, or something like that. He represented a company. He worked for a company, and he and another colleague had to make a flight out of state to meet with the CEO or the owner of another company. They were trying to sell a service or product to that person. They're trying to get submit a proposal to get a contract or something like this. And so on the plane ride there, my professor, he was reading the local newspaper. He just wanted to see, I don't think he had been to that town before, so he wanted to get the local newspaper. So he was able to get one at the airport or something, and he got the paper, I think after he landed or something, and he was reading it on the way there to the office. And so he read with interest one particular story that dealt with a local kid who made it to who was a really good football player, and he made it to the local, like university, made the team and got a scholarship, and it was an interesting story that was in the local paper about that. So he's reading that along with some other things. And so he gets to the office, and they start talking. And as soon as they meet the owner says, "Look, I'm sorry, guys. I know you're here to meet me, but I only have about 10 minutes. So can we just make it really quick?" So he's, and they sit down, and my professor, he just brings it up real quick. He says, before we begin, I just thought it was really interesting that in your town here, that you had this young man who's a great football player, and I just was reading with interest how he made it to the university with a scholarship. And suddenly the owner's face became really bright, and he says, "Yeah, he's my nephew. We're just really proud of him." And for the next 45 minutes, they were talking about this kid, and he was talking about his nephew and their family, and on and on. They were having this great time. Remember, this guy said, "I only have 10 minutes," but he spent the next 45 minutes talking about his nephew and how proud he was of him, and they had this great conversation. And suddenly he looks at his watch and he says, "Oh no, I got to go. I got to get off to another meeting. I'm really sorry, guys. But look, I'm sorry. What were you guys here for?" And so my professor and his colleague there, "Oh yeah, we wanted to see if you wanted to purchase this service or product, whatever." He says, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. Just talk to my secretary there. We'll get it set up, and we'll go ahead and do that. So they made the sale without even really doing a proper presentation that they had presented, but they had prepared. But this is real life. This is really what happens. And this wasn't necessarily like an interview, a job interview, but this is often what happens in real life. That's why I say it's so important that in all things, that you always have to focus on the person, not the product or the service or the profit it's the person. You got to focus on people. It's always about people. It's always about a person. So that's what you have to focus on. Likability is like that as well. When you go up in front of a person, you have to be likable. So don't frown. Be comfortable, and be honest, and be confident, and all these factors and other factors that I'm going to talk about as well in subsequent videos will all help you become a likable person. So I don't want to, as I cover those, I'll tell you how it links back to likability. But I think, simply put, likability has a lot to do with you being able to find common ground. So try to find some common ground. And if you cannot, then you always resort to, you should be a positive person, you should be a confident person, and on and on. And I will cover those other things later, and again, let you know how it connects back to likability. Okay, but just generally speaking, this is huge. And so if someone doesn't like you, if you go into an interview, for some reason they don't like you, okay, and you didn't get the interview, you just thought you were very prepared, you were very qualified, and on, but they just didn't pick you. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes they just, yeah, you know what, I didn't like that person very much. I want to go with that person. And so do your best to try to make some kind of an emotional connection with the interviewer, and I think that's most important. So I'll leave it at that. And if you haven't, like I said, you can watch the 2 previous videos on interviews, and then and then you can get a little bit of background of what I was talking about. But thanks for staying with me on this video, and until my next video, I hope you stay well.